Sonic Frontiers was and still is an excellent game. It marked a turning point in the Sonic series after so many years of mediocre or just plain bad titles. But even though Frontiers was a good step in the right direction, it definitely wasn't perfect by any means. The game left more to be desired, as the whole end of the game seemed utterly unrealized. So just for those who don't know, let me provide a quick recap. So after the first 3 islands, we visit Rhea Island, which is just the other half of Kronos we weren't able to access before. On this island, we are tasked with shutting down 6 towers that extend out of the ground. Each time we shut down a tower, we get a cutscene or 2 that shows some backstory of the ancients, along with seeing Sonic's cyber corruption progressively getting worse and worse. After shutting down all the towers, the cyber corruption gets the best of Sonic and the end escapes its prison, but fear not. With the power of friendship, his corruption just goes away. Yep, the whole conflict of the story was Sonic's corruption just gets thrown away just like that. Alright, so now that the cyber corruption is gone, all that's left to do is to defeat the End, which is the AI voice that's been talking to us throughout the game. So to do this, we have to visit the final island of the game, Ouranos Island, and collect all the Chaos Emeralds. Oh boy, I wonder what this island is going to look like. Oh, it's just more Kronos. Lame. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed when I visited this island for the first time. Up until this point, we had Kronos, which, okay, every first level has grassy landscapes. Then we had Ares, which was desert-themed. Then we had Chaos, which had volcanoes and stuff. And then, of course, we had Rhea, which is also just more Kronos, but it's really only a story event, so I didn't mind it. And then Ouranos, which is even more Kronos, but we do the normal song and dance of collecting the Chaos Emeralds and collecting memory tokens. And then we fight the Titan at the end. Wait, is there another Titan? It looks like we already defeated all of them. Oh, okay, there is another Titan. And it's basically just Giganto with a giant arm cannon. Welp. Okay, but there's definitely a super climatic finish with the AI lady, right? Oh, it's a minigame. Damn. And that's it. What a boring and anticlimactic way to end the game. First playing through cut content from Kronos Island to then fighting a shitty reskin of the first boss to finally fighting a glorified minigame for the true final boss. If it wasn't already obvious, Sonic Frontiers was rushed, and what makes this even more apparent is what we learned after the game was released. Doing some digging, we can find that they had so much more planned for this game. And it goes further than just looking at concept art, by the way. From data mining and leaked beta footage, we know that Kronos Island was originally supposed to be massive, as it would comprise of Kronos as we know it, Rhea, and Ouranos. That would have only been the first island. And looking at concept art, we can see that there was much more planned for the other islands as well. Was Chaos Island originally supposed to serve as a factory for the Titans? That looks so cool. But since Kronos was originally supposed to be comprised of the first and final islands of the game, then that means there must have been something else planned for the finale, right? There must have been a completely unique 4th island. I mean, 5th island, I guess. And well, yeah, there was actually. So while we have no concept art or anything of that sort to go off of here, digging within the game's files, we can find a multitude of things that hint towards the existence of an unused island. For example, unused voice clips. Just take a listen.
Sonic, I believe I can access the ship's ruins. Join me. It is what remains of the Ancients' world ship. It was their ark to this world.
Ancient's world ship, huh? Could that have been the original final act of the game? Also, I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I've seen some people mentioning that back in the days of those 4chan leaks, the playtesters mentioned that Sage and Sonic at some point in the game were supposed to go up and explore the world ship, but again, I don't know how much credibility this had. I mean, we have to ask a few questions though. Number 1, is there any trace of this world ship in the final game? And yes, there actually is. In Rhea Island, we get to see multiple cutscenes, including one where the End wipes out all of the ancient ships, but something that always seemed off to me was that the cutscene in question spent a weird amount of time on this shot. Now, I could be reaching here, but I wonder if this is the world ship. And considering that at this point of the game, we were all wondering what the final island would be, this would have been a good time to tease it. And as we heard in Sage's voice clip, she discusses the ruins of the world ship, and since of course it got destroyed by the End as we see in the cutscene, then I wonder if we were originally supposed to explore the ruins for the final island of the game. So now you may be wondering, does that mean that the final island was supposed to be in space? Well, let's see what we can gather here. Look at the island names, for example. We all know that they're named after Greek gods, well, with the exception of Chaos, of course. Kronos is the Greek god of time and the king of the Titans, Ares is the god of war, and that's a prominent theme in Knuckles' story arc. Chaos is, well, I don't really have to explain that. Rhea is Zeus's mother, which I guess could symbolize birth and new life, since Rhea is the End's prison and he released it after shutting down the towers. But then we have Ouranos, the god of the sky. Yes, the sky. So since the names for the islands were definitely not coincidental, that leads me to believe that the final island, Ouranos, was supposed to take place in the sky at some point. And if in fact Ouranos was supposed to be in the sky, then it would make perfect sense for the ruins of the world ship, which is in space, to be the final island of the game. So if this is the case, which so far all signs are pointing to yes, then what would this mean for the story? Well, it means it would actually feel finished. The ending of Sonic Frontiers left us with so many questions. Despite seeing a lot about the ancients on Rhea Island, it was still kinda confusing about what they actually were. We also didn't have much backstory on the end and why it wiped out everybody, and of course we also had the cyber corruption plot completely tossed out the window. Yeah man, rip Cybersonic, I'm sure nobody wanted that anyway. I, and probably everyone else, was just so unsatisfied with the conclusion of Frontiers. And if there was originally supposed to be more to the end of the game, then that makes perfect sense. Since the actual conclusion of Sonic and Sage uncovering the secrets of the ancients by exploring the ruins of their destroyed ship got cut, then the developers had no choice but to shove as much of the story as they could into the final moments of the game. That's why Rhea Island was the way it was, and that's why the end was shoehorned in at the last second. It was to give more story. Because otherwise we would have been even more confused than we already were. I mean, imagine if after Chaos Island the game just ended. That would really suck. So I do applaud Sega for making the decision to split Kronos Island in order to fill out the end of the game to the best of their ability in the short time they had. But that just begs the question, was there already progress done on the original Ouranos Island? And as of now, there hasn't been anything found in the files except for those voice clips. Now, it is entirely possible that they removed any trace of the world ship before launching the game, but considering that scripts from the early version of Kronos were found in the files, then I don't really know how likely that scenario is. And also, any concept art of the ship was obviously never released to the public. Maybe one day we'll get our hands on that, because I know it's in that vault of yours somewhere, Sega. But even after all of this, I can't help but be a little disappointed. As I said before, they clearly had a vision for this game, a vision that just needed a little more time in the oven. But of course, due to the demand of Frontiers, they just didn't have time for it. Time was ticking, so they had to scrap their original 4th Island ideas, and instead they had to work with what they already had. But there is a bright side to all of this. We still have one more free content update for this game coming later this year that not only adds new characters, but also adds a story expansion. So while it is unconfirmed that this final update will add all of this content, it's more than likely that it will fill in the gaps that were left empty in the original game, just in a new way, and I honestly can't wait. But until more is uncovered about this mysterious island, that's all we know about the Ancients world ship and the role it initially played in the early stages of Frontiers' story. Well, that's going to end this video, everyone. I actually really enjoyed making this and discussing some cut content of Frontiers, and I hope you did as well. So until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.